welcome back. We've started
the discussion before we're even back on air.
But those of us who are just joining us, it's time for Ladies View, and we have on set a lovely host of ours, Nicole McGowan. She's a former Sunrise host. And of course, our news anchor, Kalila Enriquez.
That's right.
Welcome to you both.
Hello.
And the topic this morning was, what is the most important thing in a relationship? What makes it tick? Or what makes me get ticked off? I don't know. We'll find out. But I could be general and say, you need a balance and everything is important. But the fact is, there are things that have a far greater priority, or should have a far greater priority, even if people don't see it that way. I was going to say that sex is the most important thing, but I realize that a lot of women here agree with me, so I'm probably not going to go with that one.
Actually, I disagree. I think for me personally, I think friendship and communication should be the important priorities in a relationship, because once you're able to communicate, remember, sex is an activity that lasts anywhere between 15 to an hour or hour and a half, depending on But communication, on the other hand, is far greater, because you can always talk about your problems, your plans for your life, your background, your family, and this is what you have to do in order to spend time, and so you can get to know your partner as best as you can.
If you want to spend 50 years with somebody, you better be their friend.
Exactly. You have to be friends first and foremost, and in doing so, you'll have developed the loyalty, the trust, the love, the commitment, and then sex can come afterwards.
Sex can come afterwards, Deandra?
Yes.
She's a married woman.
I was married,
woman.
and unfortunately I lost my husband. But sex is important to a relationship. It is. You don't, tell you, ladies,
I'm not denying
listen to me. Listen to me.
Come, let's listen to Mama now.
Listen to Mommy. You do not want your husband to be going out and playing the field and meddling. You also want to be, you're his wife, but you also want to be his girlfriend. You have to keep that element, you have to keep that passion in your relationship.
True.
It is important. You are friends, yes, that's important, but also equally important is honesty and integrity and trust. That is important.
That is true.
Because you can have a friend and you can't trust that friend.
That's why.
But once the sex starts out,
Once the sex starts out, other things will fall in place. Listen to Mama.
Because tomorrow morning you will be able to forgive. You'll be like, baby, you want some tea?
Yes, listen to me.
Your relationship becomes too sexual, and you're falling down in the other areas. It may just
Listen,
not be
if you guys are upset with each other, sex can make it up.
Sex can make it up.
If you want to work out and stay fit and healthy,
sex can make it up.
When you are,
let me tell you something. Let me tell you
in a relationship.
No, it isn't the cure-all for all relationships, but it is important. It is an important element, and I think a lot of relationships and a lot of infidelity, I think, this is just my personal view, is that sometimes some of the root causes of infidelity in a relationship, because you have to understand, men like sex.
I'm not saying
men like sex, and women too, and you have to understand that, and there has to be a balance. And you can't say, oh Lord, I'm tired, and you have to have compromise in a relationship.
We're not saying that
you have to have a compromise in a relationship.
We're not saying
you're not throwing out your morals,
your values, the priorities, and all of those things that build a solid foundation should hold an importance. But a lot of women tend to forget about the importance of sex.
As soon as they get the ring,
they get married, and
they lock shop.
Them don't take care of themselves anymore. No more sexy lingerie, and the man needs this. He needs it.
But don't get me wrong.
You watch them on the cameraman rejoicing.
Conversation.
I'm not saying that sex is not important. It is, but in terms of the priority, because you're going to have 1, 2, 3, and for me,
everything has to be a balance.
My top three, I would go trust, communication, then sex. Those are the top three.
And I'm more agreeing with Nicole that they're all in the same hemisphere.
Top three.
I don't have a.
What's your top three?
My top three: trust, sex, and honesty.
And honesty.
So we can't
I think honesty comes with the trust part. That kind of goes hand in hand.
The sex and the morals. Well, I think morals and values, you know, be able to, we have the same priorities, we want the same things out of life, including sex. I think if you have that
compatibility,
It is
you see on the eHarmony thing, they say they match with the compatibility, and it's so true. If you have similar desires, similar goals out of life, you will go a much longer way.
And you will be
similar religious beliefs,
sexually as well.
Similar, sexual compatibility.
And I'm glad you speak of that. What do we think about arranged marriages? Do these people, can you grow to love someone?
Because they wouldn't be able to experience that intimacy before making that commitment. And a lot of Christians as well, you know, you're not to have sex before you get married. But, you know, the idea is that over time you will grow to love each other and grow to be compatible and grow to care about one another. And then the sex and all of that should come after. But for those arranged marriages, and a lot of them are based on wealth and, you know, political situations.
I think if you make up your mind to love somebody,
it can happen.
You think so?
Yeah, if you decide, part of love is a decision, you know. Love is a choice. You choose to be in love. You choose to maintain a relationship and to work on a relationship.
I don't know.
So if you make up
that,
your mind.
Do you choose? If you had a child, you have a daughter, Khalila. Did you choose to love her, or it's just unconditional?
You can't compare
different. You can't even compare the love for your child. No, love is love. You can't compare the love for your child.
That's not the same thing.
Y'all don't know. Y'all don't know, right?
Let me just reiterate why I say that friendship and communication should be at the head of the list, because what we find in relationships today, there are people are doing it backwards. You have sex first, then you get to know the person afterwards, and then you think about whether or not this person is worthy to be trusted, and you just do it haphazardly, so you find that
don't get me wrong, we're not saying that. No, Deandra,
not because we're holding sex as something as important.
But that's what some people
I like to get that out of the way. Invest all this time and find out if I like you, and then pop down there.
So you're one of those persons who believe that you don't want any pussy in a bag. You want to know from the get-go.
Careful, no, you know.
Any PUSS
in the bag.
It's in the bag.
Yeah.
Oh.
So you wouldn't wait until they get married to somebody then before you start to explore.
Obviously not. I have a child and I'm not married.
I'm just asking in the future if that would be something that you'd consider. Because you have to know upfront if this person.
I need to know.
Because sex is an important element in a relationship. It is.
Although it's something that you can work on too and you can improve.
So if that's the case, why is it that the marriages back in the 70s or the 60s, those lasted 30 years when most of them didn't indulge in sex until after getting married?
We don't know that.
No,
we don't know that. We don't know if Brand got it going on. We don't know.
Were they happy?
They weren't happy.
Were they
the women could not get divorced. The way we were socialized and the whole
culturally
structure.
acceptable.
What was the woman going to do? Those women were also sometimes being beaten, abused, you know, emotionally, physically, and there was nowhere for them to go. So the lasting of the relationship didn't have to do with whether they were intimate. Okay. Some of them weren't even being intimate anymore. You know, you still had the mistress on the side. And that's what I'm saying, why we need to realize the importance of sex, because
it is important.
That's where you bring in the infidelity and the mistress and, you know, all of these other factors that get into your relationship. Because if you lose that intimacy, you're losing your relationship. It should be a part of it. And Deandra, I don't want you to get me wrong, and any other viewers, I am not advocating to have sex before marriage. I'm not saying that it has to be the first thing to do because it's a priority. I'm saying that it needs to have its importance.
And it needs to have its place in the relationship.
It needs to have its place in the relationship.
It has to be nurtured. It's like a child. If you do not show that child, if you do not invest the time and your energy and all the love and support that is needed, it will fall apart. It is important. We're not saying it is the most important thing, but it is important.
And I'm not denying that. I'm not denying that. But I like how you mentioned that you what was the top for your list again? Trust. What was the top of your list?
Trust and fidelity, that goes hand in hand, and honesty, that goes hand in hand. You can't separate those two. Then those three things, and then sex is important, and then just sharing the same ideals, the same moral basics, same moral base, the same values, the same outlook in life. I don't want someone where I am highly ambitious, and I don't want someone that's not, that doesn't share that view.
What about people who are sexually compatible though? You know, the sex is just amazing. It's, you know, it's beyond, it's, yeah, it's beyond words. It's beyond words. I'm just helping her out. It's beyond words. But in other areas, you know, they're not necessarily that compatible. Do you think something like sex could help them to become compatible in other areas.
Let me tell you something. Sex will never save a relationship. It is good. It's a good activity. But if you do not have all the elements, it will not work. Sex is not the cure-all. It's a good activity. It's great. It's fun, but it's not the cure-all.
Which is why friendship and the communication, the commitment should.
So what happens when that friendship
ruins a lot of relationships?
It does.
Because you have women who will stay just because of that, and then the other things aren't in sync, and they keep going back and keep going back and keep getting hurt every time.
Okay, so
what happens though when you said friendship is important? What happens if the friendship falls apart?
Well, just like any relationship, if you find that the trust is being affected, the loyalty is being affected, then move ways, or again, you can forgive if you want. But that should be really the essence of your relationship, having that mutual bond together.
Okay, so we can agree then that trust, friendship, sharing this compatibility, sharing the same life views, communication, and of course, sex are important elements to a relationship.
Absolutely, but the most important is
friendship and the communication.
All right, thank you so much, ladies. Khalila, it was fun. Good to have you. Thanks for calling.
Thanks so much.
All right, we do have to take a break, but when we close the show, we're going to have our Facebook responses from yesterday. We're going to have our birthdays and community notices. I want you to stay with us because we'll be right back with more from CBM at Sunrise. Don't move, Nicole. Stay tuned. All right? We'll be right back.